Alright, so we just got to my cousin's apartment. Where the fuck do you live, bro? Oh my god. Where are we? Welcome to Lublin. I have a whole suitcase and a bag on my back. But this isn't that bad. I don't know. It looks very nice. It looks fucking lovely. Oh. Nie, no tu fajnie. Ej, tu fajnie. Oh, this is so like Polish. This is old Poland. This is how like we used to live. Well, not we, but like our grandma lived like this in an apartment like this.
Years old.
Oh yeah, but you know, there's character here. I gotta tell you, this is interesting.
So I am staying in my cousin's pre-war apartment building that has been around since before World War II. It's located outside of the Jewish ghetto zone, and the apartment is on one of the oldest streets in Lublin called Zamoyska Street. I will be giving you guys a full tour of the apartment a little later on in the video, but I just really wanted to mention first that I am in no way bashing or making fun of anyone for living in conditions like the ones that are being presented. This is actually how I used to live for a few weeks out of the year when I would come and visit my grandma in Lublin from Zakopane. You may be wondering, why am I using bottled water to brush my teeth with every morning? But it's just to avoid damaging my enamel since the water is really hard. So before getting in the shower, I turn on a water boiler to heat up the water, and also once showering, to preserve hot water, I shut the water off in between rinses just because I'm not a fan of cold water showers. Most of these pre-war apartments, especially ones on the top floor or attics, came without proper bathrooms. So I remember my grandmother didn't have a proper bathroom, and we would have to heat up water in pots and pans and pour it into like a big steel tub to take a bath. We also didn't have a toilet, so we used our neighbors or just used a bucket. To me, that was completely normal, but to many, this might come off as a shock.
This was in the 90s though, and many of the apartments have been renovated and small bathrooms were made wherever possible, but just wanted to share that with you guys. So let's talk about how much my cousin pays for this pad. It's about $200 a month. She lives in the UK full-time and comes here a few times a year, and since she doesn't like to stay by her parents, this allows her to keep all her stuff in one place and not travel with a lot of stuff when she comes. So this is the view outside of the bathroom window, and honestly to me it's soothing, and this is something I'm used to. It may look grungy and old, but it's just something that I know as home. The bathroom is extremely small, but we have everything we need here. The kitchen is also super tiny, but you can cook and wash up after yourself. The stove is a gas stove, and you need a bottle of gas hooked up in order for it to work. I actually had a gas stove in my house down in the mountains as well, and this was a very common practice in the 90s and early 2000s. So what I just pointed to is where back in the day you would load up wood and coal to heat up the original stove that was in the building. I also wanted to show you guys the front entrance with the doors because I can assure you guys that they don't make them like these anymore. There's also a little sitting area in my cousin's kitchen, but when we ate, we just sat in her room. So this is my room where I was staying, and if it was the winter back in the day, this is a big wood and coal based heater that connected to the other room as well, and that heat up the whole apartment. Since my cousin's apartment is on the top floor, we have an interesting ceiling shape, and her room is slightly bigger, but she says she gets woken up when the bus arrives at the bus stop because it shakes the whole building. Her room also has storage, and back in the day, this is where a lot of homemade pickled veggies and fruit were kept, along with some fresh veggies and fresh fruit just to last the winter. So some common fruits and veggies that we kept were apples, carrots, potatoes, and beets, just to name a few. And right now, I have no idea what's in here, but we're just not gonna pry. Let me just show you the view out of her room real quick, and then we are going to head out, and I will show you guys a little bit of Lublin as we are driving over to my cousin's dentist appointment.
We have some of the best dentists in the world, by the way. Okay, so I'm making my way downstairs, and I'm not gonna pretend I wasn't a bit nervous walking by myself here, but that is because I'm always so alert, especially living in the United States, whenever I am in locations that do look run down and dangerous. But Poland is actually a very safe country and will remain safe as long as we keep our borders protected. The apartment building is locked with a gate that you need a set of keys to get into, so no one can just wander in from the street. Even in an apartment building like the one you guys just saw, it's super safe. Mostly only very low income families live there that work very hard, pray, and try to just make ends meet. We get a few alcoholics here and there, but even our Polish alcoholics are just not too dangerous. Lublin is known for its universities and it's mostly a college town, so from May until October, it's actually fairly quiet. I have to show you guys real quick though, our alphabet is missing a few letters. I couldn't believe it. I'm just so used to the American ABCs that this really threw me in for a loop. Like, what? Okay, so that was really random, but back to Lublin. You can get to Lublin by bus, train, or plane. We finally have a small airport outside of the city as well. Getting around Lublin is also very easy and cheap, especially with buses as the go-to transport option. We do have Ubers and something very similar to an Uber. We just call it Bolt. It's basically a knockoff version of Uber and it's much cheaper and has more rides available. Personally, I would prefer to take public transportation just because our screening laws for Ubers and Bolts are very lenient, and there's been many instances where refugees would operate the vehicles with no required papers or background checks, and sometimes it would lead to crimes mostly against women, so just be aware of that when traveling. In this vlog, I wanted to focus more on the not so talked about part of Lublin and Poland. It's why I showed you guys my cousin's apartment, but in the next vlog, I will be showing you a much nicer side of Lublin, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. And after just driving around a bit, my cousin and I got some coffee in the old town and just hung out and relaxed.
I've been getting ready on this windowsill with a beautiful view of a pre-war building and some blocky in the back. So I'm just getting ready. My aunt is coming to pick me up from my cousin's apartment and we're gonna be walking around. We're gonna grab some breakfast and we're also gonna go by my grandma's old apartment. Unfortunately, we don't have keys to that apartment because it is a city-owned apartment. Somebody else probably lives there. Maybe it's renovated. It used to be in a very similar condition to like my cousin's apartment. The street is very sentimental because I used to chill there during the summer with my grandma. So it just brings back like good memories, you know what I mean? So that's what we're gonna do. It's fine. I only have like 2 or 3 days left in Lublin, so I'm gonna vlog as much as I can for you guys. And then I am going to Warszawa because I've never been to Warsaw and I'm so excited. Like, I'm Polish and I don't even know what the capital of Poland looks like, so should probably go check that out. So make sure you guys subscribe and hit the post notification bell button so you guys don't miss those videos. Last bite of breakfast and I'm gonna head downstairs to meet my aunt because she's probably waiting at the bus stop for me because there's a bus stop right outside of my cousin's apartment, and it's really funny because the apartment shakes when the bus comes. Prehistoric pre-war buildings. Hello, what happened? So outfit change. My aunt just got here and she said it's a little bit cold outside. I was gonna meet her at the bus stop, but she has a set of her own keys, so she surprised me. She knocked on the door. I was actually like low-key freaking out because I was like, who is this? Like, who is here? But let me just show you what the keys look like. Have you guys seen keys like this to an apartment? Because I haven't seen them since like a long time.
My aunt and I just went and walked up the street, and that's where the nice part of Lublin starts, the old town. We actually are walking over to where my grandmother used to live because I wanted to stop in and visit the place for sentimental reasons. My childhood memories are literally floating around in every crevice of the city. My aunt and uncle used to live in a part of town called Tatary, which apparently is the most dangerous part of Lublin, but I never really understood why because it never really seemed like that to me. So part of my summers would be spent at my aunt's and uncle's, and the rest of my stay was with my grandma. I didn't know my grandpa growing up because he left my grandma when she was younger. I only got to meet him a few days before I actually moved to the United States. He also lives in Lublin, but in a much nicer part of town. My grandmother's little apartment was down the street from Old Town, and she lived in a studio apartment in the attic with no functioning bathroom, but was very close to the neighbors and used to use their bathroom whenever. So this is it. This is the walkway where I used to play and walk through to go to the bus, the deli, church. In this area of town, usually doctors and lawyers had apartments back in the day. These apartments are usually very spacious, and now there is renovations going on the inside, but the main structure of the building is being kept. You can see new windows on the outside that don't match the aesthetic of the building, but I think these windows are a necessity at this point. And this is the building that I used to long for during the school year. The comfort of my grandma still lingers here.